How's it going, everybody? So what are we going to talk about today? I got a lot of things in my head. I just don't know if I could really articulate what's in my head. That's the hard part. Anyway, just got to tell you a little story here. I was online and looking at some pictures. Well, I was looking at guitar pictures, like I usually do. And I was on the site called, what's it called? Pinterest. Have you heard of that? And they have a lot of guitar pictures. So I'm looking at the pictures, and there's some ads. And I ignore the ads, but this time it was of a very cute Asian young woman. So I said, what the heck is this? I clicked on it. And to my surprise, it got me to a page just loaded with pictures of young Asian women. Now, I have no idea what the ad was for or what it says, but let me show you what I mean. This is what it looks like. It's just like pages and pages of this stuff, and it never ends, you know. It never ends. It's just, and they're all cute. Look at them. Look at them all. And it's painful to look at them. And look, it just never ends. And I don't know what it's for, because it's like mostly written in Chinese and stuff. And well, the other page I was on, it was all Chinese, and I didn't understand anything. So anyway, it made me think of something. Anyway, it got me thinking. All these beautiful women, and it triggers my masculinity. And I want to make them mine, all of them. Can you believe this? I want to have them all. And they're all young enough to be my daughter, so that makes it even more appealing. And I realized something that's quite upsetting. I realized that I can't have any one of them. Not one. That's fucking tragic. Not fucking one. Look at them all. I can't even have one. I realized something. My name is Alex, and I'm an incel. It got me thinking that, what exactly is an incel? Now, I think this lecture here that I'm going to do is long overdue. It may not even be a current hot topic or subject of conversation or in vogue right now. I don't know. Maybe it still is. But the concept is timeless, really. This incel concept, the topic. Now, what does it mean? It means involuntarily celibate. Incel. And a lot of women don't understand what incels are, who they are, what they do, what's in their head. And that's mainly because women don't understand male sexuality. That's the root of a lot of problems. Now, granted, men don't understand female sexuality. So when you put the two together, males and females, what do you get? You get incompatibility. Major incompatibility between the genders. Now, that's innate. That's genetic. That's designed by nature. This incompatibility thing, it's a difference in purpose between the genders. That's why when I see a young male and female in a relationship and they're holding hands or they're kissing or whatever they're doing, I usually smile because I know something that they don't know. They're both in that relationship with an entirely different purpose. And they don't realize it. And both are trying to reach their incentives through the other by being in that relationship. It's fascinating. So how in the hell can you put two creations together, male and female, with two totally different purposes, and make a relationship work and make a relationship sustain? And ideally make a relationship last forever? It's a big job. It's a big challenge. But let's explore this incel thing just a bit further. And you'll see that my conclusion is quite surprising. So I went right here on YouTube and do a little investigation as to what others are saying about these incels. And I know that there was an apparent, an alleged mass killing by driving a vehicle into people on the street, and that was attributed to an incel without having any proof or any real data to justify that. And of course, women and lesbians went on the internet and YouTube and started speaking out on incels, calling them toxic and calling them wacky and scary, and the ideology of the incel, and the rebellion of the incel, you know. And when these outraged, frightened women and lesbians, and even some males, by the way. Males that have been indoctrinated with the current narrative. When they think of an incel, they automatically think, well, of people like me. The white male. Of course. It can only be the white male, right? Because that's what the media tells you. And who owns the entire media? Can you guess? Can you guess? Now, I'm talking about the entire media, every type of media. I'm talking about mainstream news, of course. I'm talking about much of the alternate news. I'm talking about social media. I'm talking about the internet in its entirety. I'm talking about print media, books, publishing, and everything else that you can think of. Radios, talk shows, television, Netflix. The Hitler chat, the History Channel, I was going to say. National Geographic. Disney! You know what? I'm just going to stop right here. I'm going to stop. I could go on and on and on and on. I'm just going to fucking stop. And you think your ideas, your opinions, your values, you think they're coming from you? I'm here to tell you that they're not. Can you guess if... Can you just imagine that if I owned all of the media, only I would have a proud platform and only I would have a voice, and I could get right into your mind day after day, from birth onward, I would be in your mind. If I owned the media, that is. I don't own shit. But if anybody owned the media, they could do this. I could even hire Dr. Jordan P. I could even hire Dr. Jordan B. Peterson as my mouthpiece. And he could use his fast talk and he can convince you not to ever want to belong to any group and not to ever think that you have an identity, because you have to be an individual, which means that you're all alone, unprotected, powerless, isolated, and you could easily be crushed. I could hire Jordan Peterson for a small fee if I owned the media. See? And he'll do anything I tell him to, as long as he gets a few shekels. See, Jordan Peterson is a whore. He'll do anything. It's not just that all women are whores. People like Jordan Peterson are whores. It's very simple about Jordan Peterson. He works for the Jew. If I owned the media, I could make Jordan rich and famous. And I could stick him up your nose. Stick him in your face every fucking second. I would be able to gaslight you en masse. En masse. You understand? Understand? En masse. Because the Jew works on the masses. Only cares about the masses. Because the Jew has an agenda. You know what that agenda is? It's a nice one. The Jew is out to heal the world. Heal the world. To make a better world. And that's what they've done. But if anybody owned the media, they could do this. Get into your mind, and every independent, original, unique thought you think you have, an opinion, is actually not yours. It belongs to those who can get into your mind, who have already gotten into your mind. Everything in your head. Well, depends on how conscious you are. Depends on how awake you are. It depends on how educated you are. Vigilant you are. It depends on how aware you are. Otherwise, everything in your head was put there by the Jew. And especially if you are a pedestrian Jew, you're entrapped. You're entrapped because you rejected God, nature, Logos, reason. And as soon as you do that, the Jew owns you. They own you through your mind. And you're going to fight it, you're going to deny it, you're going to resist it, you're not going to admit it. But your opinions are not yours. No fear, all this ties in with the concept of the incel. See, because as I keep telling you, well, maybe I haven't told you yet, but I'll tell you now. Now, other people who create content, have a platform, and share their opinions, knowledge, whatever it may be, don't realize this. But it's the most important thing to realize. If you're going to talk about men, women, relationships, you cannot leave the Jew, that's J-O-O, out of the equation. If you do, everything you say becomes irrelevant. Everything. Instantly, like that. Boom! Because 2 plus 2 no longer equals 1. Or 2 plus 2 no longer equals 10. Or 2 plus 2 no longer equals 0. Because the most important part is missing from the equation. So if you listen to any other production right here on YouTube or anywhere else, any other medium, talk shows, radio, TV, books, whatever it may be. And if they leave the Jew out, you're going to be made more confused than you ever were before. And sadly, much of that is done by design, on purpose. Through the dictate of the Jew. This is why every fucking thing that, I don't want to pick on this guy and single him out, but let's use him because he's a big, huge star in the world, in the Jew world, Jordan Peterson. So let's use him. But there's thousands of Jordan Petersons. Thousands. Understand? And you know this. And from now on, if you haven't done this so far, you're going to be conscious of this and you're going to be able to pick them out all by yourself. And you should be very proud of yourself if you reach that preliminary stage at least. It's a great start for your consciousness. But you're going to be able to identify all by yourself that what they talk about is irrelevant. Instantly, like that. Boom! Just like a math equation. If they leave out one element, nothing will make sense. Oh, you're going to try to make sense of it. You're going to, because that's your human nature. That's the way the mind works. You're going to try to make sense of it. And you're going to be fucking all over the place. You're going to be all confused. You're going to be going in this direction and that direction and backwards and upwards and frontwards. And you're going to trip, fall on your face. And the years will go by and you will still not get anywhere. You're just going to be spinning your wheels in one spot. Just because these son of a bitches left out the Jew from the equation. Understand what I'm saying to you? So, the incel, men, women, the world that you're living in right now and suffering in and struggling in, it will all make sense. It all makes sense. Now, why is this important? Why don't you just put your head in the sand and go to a football game or something, or just enjoy your demise, your downfall, your debasement. Just enjoy it. Nothing's going on. Oh no. Put your tinfoil hat on, dude. Nothing's going on. It's all normal. But it wasn't normal a few years ago. Well, it's normal now. Well, what's going to be normal in a few years? Who cares? Well, I'll tell you who cares. The Jew cares. Very much. But the Jew doesn't want you to care. See? You know why? Because the Jew is a lot smarter than you are. And a hell of a lot more devious. You're functioning through Christian values. Even you son of a bitches who claim to be the biggest fucking atheists in the world. You're not. You're either a Jew or you're a goy. Nothing in between. Because if there's a problem, in order for you to make a change, and this goes for therapy, and I do therapy, I offer therapy to people. Unless you can identify the problem first, you will never be able to correct it. Think of it as a automotive problem with your car. And you go out and you say, it doesn't start. And then you give it a boost from another vehicle and boom, it starts like crazy. And you're driving down the road. And then you say, you go to a store or whatever, you turn off the engine, and you get back into your vehicle and it doesn't start. And you're all confused. And you're going, well, the car seems to run perfectly, but it doesn't start. Why the hell doesn't it start? But it starts if I give it a boost from another vehicle. Why doesn't it start? And a Jew shill comes along and gives you totally the wrong fucking information. So you're totally going down the wrong path. And you're going to stumble and make mistakes everywhere. And never, ever acquire consciousness. And I come along and I say, well, let me give you a hint what it could be. It's your alternator. You're not generating electricity to turn your car over. And you're going, whoa. I'm connecting the dots. Of course. I know exactly what to do. I'm going to replace my alternator. Yeah. And your problem is fixed. All through awareness, understanding, education. And that's what the Jew fears the most. That's why they got Jordan Peterson coming right at you. They don't fucking want you to be aware of anything. Because they're there to heal the world. And you're standing in their way. So when doing an analysis of the so-called Incel concept, as I explained to you, it has everything to do with male nature, male sexuality. So it's universal. The incel is universal. Now, what these lesbians, these Marxist-leaning university females whose parents pay tens of thousands of dollars for them to be Jew indoctrinated and fucked up for life, and their future ruined forever, their minds ruined, with the intention of coding them, processing them so that they will never reproduce. Yes, the blue-haired white girls will never reproduce. And also the same goes for the feminine-leaning type B bunny soy boys. All these people, what they don't realize is that every healthy, masculine, straight male of whatever fucking color they are, whatever their relationship situation is, it could be single, They could be virgins. They could be divorced, having been in a marriage. They could be single, but they could have had many relationships, or not many, but let's say several, with women. And they could be married men. Married for decades. And they're all fucking incel. Understand that, girls? This is what women and lesbians and bunnies must understand. That every straight, healthy male is by nature an incel. Understand? Alright, so wanting to know the comprehension of the average person out there regarding this concept of the incel, wanted to see how they judge male nature, male sexuality, because that's what basically the incel is. And it's largely also tied in with the Jew attack on male nature, the Jew attack on male sexuality, masculinity. Not only did the Jew and their social engineering create the whole concept of the involuntary celibate, once they create the existence of something like that, which is a product of social engineering and the environment that was created, they then attack the male for simply trying to manifest their natural instincts, natural tendencies, and to display their gender roles, their biological imperatives as being men, simply doing what nature had programmed a man to do, which is very different in what nature programmed a woman to do. But of course, what the Jew has to do is to invert everything, and the Jew basically attacks nature and anyone who follows the laws of nature. This is why they call the Jew anti-logos. Logos being the laws of the universe, the laws of the Creator. So I went on YouTube and I found some videos that, well, one was made by a young lesbian, and that's absolutely dismissible immediately. Lesbians have no word. They should have nothing to say about either gender. They're in a world of their own. As I said, I'm not disparaging them. It's just that they really have no dog in this fight. This is strictly between men and women, the only two genders that nature has created. We're not interested in frauds here. We're not interested in pathology here. We're not interested in mutations of any type. And we're certainly not interested in any genders which the Jew has created and has gaslighted the world with. We're only interested in healthy, normal male and female nature. So I dismissed anything a lesbian has to say regarding this matter, and I found this other video by this young woman, about 20 years old, who already has the look of a spinster to me, and the demeanor of a spinster, even at that young age. She's as attractive as she's ever going to be in her entire life at this age. And what really struck me immediately is that she wasn't in so much attacking this concept of the male incel. She was shocked at and perplexed by a male nature and male sexuality, which she has absolutely no understanding of. So she went on in her video and she basically criticized men for being masculine. She doesn't understand how male sexuality works, and male sexuality, can be extreme. It can be intense, and it has to be, because a man has to be aroused in order to function sexually. A woman does not. A woman can be a fraud, which most of them are, during sexual relations, during just sexual act as well. Women do not need to perform in any capacity during sex. They can easily fake sex. So that's something that she has to get an understanding of before she criticizes men. She's criticizing men specifically in terms of their sexuality. What this young lady doesn't understand is that, as I said, I've established for you that men and women, men know this. Every man knows this. They may not articulate it, but I've established that every man, every male, is an incel by nature. It's because of the inherent sexual frustration that every man faces. All I have to do is look at some fucking pictures of women and I feel like an incel, because I can't have any of them. And that goes for every male. And this is the very most basic thing that all women must understand, is that if you're going to talk about the concept of the incel, you have to realize that you're talking about all men. Your brothers, your fathers, your uncles, your husbands, your boyfriends. Surprise, girls, they are all incel. If women try to remove male sexuality, or at least try to tame it, women are going to lose, because the arousal of the male is of paramount importance in the realization of a woman in terms of her femininity, and cherish it while you can. Male sexual arousal towards a woman has direct correlational importance to her reaching her biological imperative. So if you want to be inseminated by a man, if you want to be a mother, you want to be a grandmother, you have to celebrate, embrace male sexuality and understand it. A man, in fact, has to fetishize all women in order to be functional sexually with that woman. So in order for a man to inseminate a woman, or even to put in the effort to be interested in the woman, even to put in the effort to call you, wait for you, set up a date with you, buy you a present, whatever that may be, the male has to exhibit, demonstrate his true male nature of sexualizing and, in fact, fetishizing the woman and women's genitalia. Otherwise, girls, you're not getting inseminated, and the man has no interest in you. So if you kill masculinity, you kill your own chances of realizing your biological imperatives as women. You kill masculinity, you kill your own femininity, because you're not feminine if you remove masculinity from the equation. You see just how delicate this process, this system is between male and female bonding. You see how delicate it is? And this is what the Jew has upset, so that it no longer functions, and men and women can no longer make personal bonds, because the system has been upset, disturbed, manipulated, and this delicate system no longer functions. And what results from that for the Jew is there's no white babies. You girls are not going to hold a baby in your hands. There's something not right about that. But just want you to understand this very delicate system of gender bonding between the only two genders that exist. Sorry, Jews. I'm on the side of nature. Now, which side are you on the side of nature or on the side of the Jew? That's for you to decide. That's a big question for you to bring resolution to. It's a delicate system and you can't disturb it. Because if you do, it no longer functions. There's no reproduction. The Jew knows this. Do you? So she's going on and saying, how sick these guys are and why they're angry and why they're sexually frustrated because they can't get a woman. I mean, she's going on as to how these men can just expect women to have sex with them, and why do they even expect that, and how scary they are, and they hate women, and they want to rape women. Anyway, she's got no understanding of how a man thinks sexually and why a man has the type of sex drive that a healthy male must have for the benefit of you girls. And I'll tell you why. For an immature, inexperienced female with men, a female who did not have a strong father figure that was present to show her a male role model, a female who did not grow up with brothers, only sisters, only possibly with a dominant mother in the house, overpowering, submissive type B male father. Those females are going to be a real liability and disaster in a relationship or in a marriage. Man, we have established the fact now that every single man, and I want this young woman to understand that every single man, and this is what she doesn't understand, that every single man is an incel. This is why every healthy male is in perpetual frustration sexually. Perpetual frustration, regardless of their relationship status. This is what women have to understand. Now, think about that for a second, girls. Try to let it sink in. The experience of a man, the condition of a man, to be in perpetual sexual frustration. All right, so if a man watches a video and sees a woman, if a man is walking on the street, if a man goes to a shopping mall, if a man goes to work, if a man goes to school, they're going to constantly be desirous of random women they see. And it doesn't stop at the point that women can easily stop at, which is the gratification of receiving attention, positive attention, maybe sexual attention, maybe mildly sexual, romantic attention. A man cannot stop there because it would be too sexually frustrating to not relieve those feelings of desire. I mean, there's got to be a relief to that, right? There's got to be a resolution to that. So, I understand that incel means involuntarily celibate, but just listen to what that term means, involuntarily celibate. And even if a man has a partner, ostensibly can go home and have sex, it doesn't mean that a man wants it from that particular woman. So where is that man ending up? That man is ending up in incel land, in the world of the incel, regardless of his relationship status. Now, this is not the situation for a woman, of course, but this is how it's one of the major manifestations of incompatibility, which is sexual incompatibility between men and women. It's a huge obstacle in a relationship that, frankly, can never be resolved. So one could arrive at the understanding that a man is an incel from birth to death because of the constant ungratified sexual urges, the ungratified desires that a man feels, frustration by which every man has to live, if they have a sex drive, if they are healthy. And that's who we're talking about right here. And if you have sex with the man in the morning, he is by nature going to remain sexually frustrated, because as the way I'm looking on that page full of pictures of women, ideally the man will want all of them. That's male sexual nature. The healthy male. Any healthy male who displays masculinity and is in a relationship with this young woman is going to be an incel. Yes. Now, a lot of you don't understand that, especially I'm sure that most women don't understand that. And a man is in a relationship, why would he be an incel? Why would he be not satisfied? Why would he want any other woman? This is something that I think the unexperienced, immature woman would have no understanding of. That reminds me of a situation. I was watching a television talk show where, just a few years ago, where Pamela Anderson, we all know that she was a sex symbol, was being interviewed. And she was explaining that several relationships she was in, boyfriends, husbands, where she had caught her partners in the other room looking at pornography and masturbating. And the host of the show, this dorky male who should have known better, but I guess he didn't understand male nature either, even though he was male, he made the comment, I cannot ever imagine any man who is with Pamela Anderson looking at porn and masturbating. And I knew exactly where she was coming from, and I knew exactly the situation. That goes back to the concept that I developed, which is the shelf life of a woman. And it doesn't matter what woman it is and how sexy she is. It's going to happen. Because every man is an incel. For you to start understanding this, you have to understand that the male is programmed to do nothing more but to inseminate women. And he is programmed to inseminate as many women as possible. And for him to do that, he has to be aroused. If he's not aroused, nothing will function. Mechanically, it won't function. Okay? The male won't function. A male can't just lie in a bed and spread his legs. As much as a woman can be arousing, very strongly arousing to a man, after a woman is inseminated, the woman gradually and sometimes very quickly loses her sexual value to the male. It can go from an extreme level of arousal for the male and the strong desire for that woman. It could be instantly an extreme level of arousal. We'll go from that to the opposite extreme, to the point where being with that woman, the male cannot perform with that woman. They had become too accustomed to each other, and the male cannot be aroused. That reminds me of a real life incident where I was with a very sexy and sexual woman in Budapest, and then we took a short trip to Vienna, and we had a lot of intimate conversations, as usually happens when a woman is with me. And she explained that her ex-husband had gotten to the point where, in her own words now, he did not even see me as a woman. Now, I was very desirous of this woman. She was very sexy, completely my type. When we were walking on the street, and even going into a Catholic cathedral, men and the doorman at the cathedral, men on the street would look at her up and down, look at me, go like this to me, say, oh, what a lucky guy. So this was a very attractive woman. And even though I found her attractive up to that point, and every man on the street did as well, her husband, the man who she has a child from, did not even see her, no longer saw her, even as a woman. Wow. The shelf life of a woman. Also, factors come in terms of contempt that both develop for each other within a relationship. The incongruity between their two personalities, idiosyncrasies, and yes, the incongruity between male and female sexuality, which is a ceaseless condition. Again, I did a video in the past. I think it's a pretty good one. It's got a big message there. It deals with the incompatibility between men and women. And this incompatibility becomes very apparent as a gradual process from the first meeting, from the first sexual encounter, copulation, let's say. From that moment on, the woman drops in terms of her sexual value and power to arouse the male. So this is why if you're a male in a relationship with a woman, if you are a male in a long-term marriage with a woman, you're an incel. By definition, you are an incel. And especially if you're at the point where you're in a long-term relationship and you really have no interest in sexual relation with the woman that's next to you. Now you're thinking, oh, maybe she's unattractive, maybe she's overweight. No. Even if that woman is attractive, it doesn't matter. The male will lose his sexual interest in the woman. This is the concept that I coined, and I'm going to develop later, elaborate on it later. The concept is the shelf life of a woman, which in some cases is extremely short. This is the danger to women. And this is something that women know nothing about. Now, I don't want to get into this concept right now. This is not what this lecture is about. But it has to be pointed out as to why every man is an incel. Repeat that. Repeat that, girls. Every man is an incel. And there's nothing you can do about it. Men were designed that way by nature. It's biological. It's to provoke men, incite men to inseminate a variety of women. This is why I say that every man is made for parallel relationships. This is why every male is polygamous, often with parallel relationships. Now, we're talking about the healthy male, that is. Any male who has the opportunity to follow their biological coding. I just want to establish that right now. I don't want to get into it. This video is about something else. And I'm getting to it right now. But I want to establish as to why every man is an incel. Just want to add one more thing. That same woman beside the male who has lost her sexual appeal to the male may be a very attractive woman, may be a sexually responsive woman. We're not necessarily talking about frigid women here. Attractive and sexually responsive. But still, her sexuality is going to be that of a woman, not of a man. So her sexual response will not be congruent to that of her male partner. So automatically there's a chasm between male and female within a relationship. Now that chasm develops right after the initial meeting, but it becomes very apparent as time goes on. It just gets wider and wider. A chasm, profound difference between these two people and how they respond. We're talking sexually here. I was listening to her video and she was going on and on how sick these guys are, and I became, like as I said, it became apparent that she really wasn't talking about some pathological individuals online. She didn't realize this, but she was actually talking about male sexuality, male nature as a whole, healthy male nature. She didn't realize that she was talking about all men. She didn't realize that she was talking about, well, maybe not in her case, but if she did have a healthy masculine boyfriend, fiance, she's talking about him. She didn't realize that she's talking about her future husband. She didn't realize that she's talking about her father, her grandfather. That's the sad part. She wasn't talking about some losers on the internet as she understood it. She also didn't realize where this anger comes from. Men's anger towards women. Not just from the men who are labeled as incels on the internet, but since all men are incel, the anger that all men have towards women, which women are told is hatred that men have towards women, that men hate women, and that anger scares her and scares all women. So do men hate women? The answer to that is yes, they do, and no, they don't. Men want to love women, but oftentimes they are put in a position where they must hate women. And the Jew uses this social engineering, this conceived, contrived environment that the Jew creates, social environment. He uses this to scare women and to alienate women from men, to alienate men and women from each other. So men in today's environment both love and hate women at the same time. This is because the Jew, J-O-O, has created an artificial environment of inequity on purpose, in which men are debased, and women are elevated. So you can understand, and in such an environment, many things happen. Men or women are alienated from each other. They're literally afraid of each other. Much of the reason is the inequity through the legal system, which is detrimental to men, and inequity in every way that women are artificially empowered to usurp men. What's really unnatural about, and everything the Jew does is against nature, of course. You have to understand that. If you don't understand the Jew, nothing I say is going to be really comprehensive to you. You're just not going to understand it. It's going to be absurd when you hear from me. And some people have demonstrated this in the comment section. And when that happens, I say, okay, go educate yourself and then come back. Because we can't really talk. You're not going to get any of this. So what the Jew has done is elevated women to masculine roles. Now talk about unnatural here. And as we've seen, has turned masculinity into femininity, where men are now castigated for being masculine. A man must now submit to female authority. It's completely turned around, which goes against the natural order. Women have an authority over men. Now, if you didn't pick up on this, this should be enough evidence for you to realize how sick the Jew is to do this. It's amazing what money and power can achieve, even if you're a real sick fuck. Now, why is that so detrimental in creating a bond? Well, as I explained before, if a man is demoted and a woman is elevated, the roles get turned around, and as I explained to you before, the sexual process of the male is very delicate and he will simply not be able to function. So when you women say, where are all the men? I'm 40 and I haven't found a man. Well, look what you've done to men. There aren't any men. I guess they look like men, sort of. The outside shell. But behaviorally, functionally, they're not men. So how are you going to be a woman if they turned you into a man? And you're full of this self-confidence. You can do anything. You can be a superhero, woman. Take over the world. This is not what the Jew lesbian feminists have been telling you for fucking decades. Doing a real mind fuck on you women. And you ate it up. You conquered the world. And it's all fucking phony. You've earned none of it. Understand? None of it. It's all rigged. It's all a sham. You believed the Jew lesbians. Shame on you. You destroyed men through believing the Jew lesbians. You put on a pussy hat. Shame on you, girls. You've now, congratulations, you've now become dudes. And where you going? Where you going with that, girl? Where you going with that? You're gonna get nowhere. You have gotten nowhere. In fact, you lost your identity. You lost who you should be. Because you've taken the Jew bait, have you not? For short-term gains, for empowerment, for freedom. The Jew always offers you freedom. You gotta know the Jew to be able to have an understanding and to be able to defend yourself against the Jew. You gotta know the Jew. Men and women together. Because the Jew will destroy any bond between men and women. There's no babies. Men can't function under those conditions. That's why there's no men for you girls. They've been eliminated. By who? By who? By the Jew. With your help, girls. With your help, because you have become the missionaries for Jew subversion. And now you are suffering just as much as men. Because don't be hard on yourselves, men. It should bring a little smile to your face that for every single male, there's a single woman. Wow. But we don't hear about that now, do we? We only hear about the sick incels. Well, hang in there. And I'll demonstrate to you who the real incel is. Men's anger comes from two sources. The unwarranted inequity, the affirmative action created by the Jew, who has artificially elevated women to a position of superiority over all men. Women didn't gain this. Women didn't deserve this. Women didn't one day, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, decide to come together and say, we had enough. We had enough of being mothers, homemakers, having husbands, cooking for them. Yes, dominating the family, which women always do anyway. We hate all that. We're going to join with the Jew. Because we hate our femininity. We hate it if men give us attention and are sexually and romantically aroused and interested in us. We hate that. We hate the fact that men want to marry us. We hate the fact that we can capture men and put them into traditional long-term relationships, traditional roles, put men into traditional roles. We hate that. We hate that men want to have babies with us. and support us and protect us and provide for the whole family. We fucking hate all that! We hate all that. We're going to join the Jew and put an end to all of that. You think that's what women did? Well, women actually did do just that. But they did it unwittingly. They were deceived. Just the way men were deceived through the sexual revolution. Men thought they would be getting laid every day. A different girl every day. 'Cause now we're free. We got the sexual liberation. That's what the Jew promised and brought into being. Both men and women were fooled. But women didn't do it consciously. They were guided to go in that direction and become free. Free of men. Well, now you're free of men. Women, you're now free of men. How does it feel? You can all be CEOs. Every woman out there we know are CEOs of huge corporations. Aren't you? Yes, you are. And men are unemployed. Men are not going to education. You girls rule. Now wallow in your happiness. Wallow in your power. Start jacking off your cocks. 'Cause you grew big ones. If you think the women's movement, feminism, the sexual revolution, if you think these are all totally organic movements that women have initiated out of their own accord, you are truly misguided. You're really overestimating women. If the Jew is gaslighting you into believing that lie. It's all the work of the Jew. It's all by design. It's all deliberate. It's all planned. The Jew did nothing more than what the Jew did in communist regimes that they established. It's always pitting one group against another and always offering liberty, freedom. You think women wanted freedom? Women of the 50s, women of the 40s. We want to put an end to secure, stable family structure. You think women said that? You think women said, we want an end to this and we're going to join the Jew and promote Talmudic ideology? Well, in effect, that's what women did. And through this satanic alliance between women and the Jew, women help bring down all of Western civilization. The ingredients being the Jew and women together to destroy Western civilization. Isn't that brilliant? The Jew is brilliant. Satanically brilliant. But they did it unwittingly. The Jew took advantage of female nature through psychology, and they pathologized men, because the Jew is very envious of men, real men, set out to destroy the real man with a little help from women. When you offer women an incentive, the Jew has seduced women. How do you seduce women? Ask the Jew. How do you seduce women en masse? Ask the Jew. The Jew has realized a long time ago the survival instinct of women, which is hypergamy. And the Jew took advantage of woman as whore. And just as a prostitute or a streetwalker can be corrupted with a little incentive, the Jew has corrupted women throughout the Western world enough to bring it all down. And the Jew could not have done it without the alliance between women and the Jew. When a certain group of people control and own all the media, all the publishing, entertainment, the legal system, all women will be dragged along and will join willingly the ruling class, which is more specifically, more accurately, the ruling race. The ruling race, which women know hold the power. You gotta join with those who hold the power. The ruling race, which rules over us. Anybody even doubt this? Open your fucking eyes. This evil alliance between women and the Jew onto this new world order that the Jew has created for them. It's always the incentive. The Jew corrupts by incentive. They did it in communism, and they're doing it in this newest version of communism. But that's enough to engineer society and bring an end to white procreation. Wow. That's what a lot of people call slow genocide. And it's not all that slow either. As you can see, the intensity of the degeneracy and the subversion has reached surreal levels. It's even too fast to comprehend and to absorb. But it does make you sick, does it not? Where do you think it all comes from? Who do you think is behind it all? Now, once you fully understand who is behind it all and who is persecuting you every single day, did you not notice that? Every single day you're being persecuted and attacked, while your freedoms have been taken away, and you have to live in perpetual and constant fear while you have to censor yourself. You're not able to speak, you're not able to think. Because if you do, you are a criminal. That is called persecution. And you think it's the new normal and you're accepting it. It's exactly what they want. Every single day you're being persecuted and attacked and debased, disgraced and demoralized, your dignity extracted, and the boot is crushing you. The boot is on your face every single day. The good news is that you won 75, 80, 90% of the war against you. Once you understand this, you will, for the very first time, be able to defend yourself. That's the good news. And it's great news. But it's up to you. Up to you to educate yourself and get a brain in order to save your ass from unimaginable terror. The anger that men feel towards women. Where does it come from? And why? That anger comes from two things. First of all, it comes from holding of sexual allocation by women. Women always determine who they mate with. This is something that was excluded by the Jew when they promoted and instigated the sexual revolution. They left female nature out of the equation to fool your dumbass. Women hold that power that they either allow men to have sex with them or not. And their prerequisite right to choose the male to mate with, to select which male they will give female validation to. That's a great source of frustration for the male. The male literally has no agency in the matter of sexual selection. This inequity in power and control which the women holds is the source of anger within the male. Well, incessant frustration, constant frustration with every woman, which then turns into and becomes anger towards women. The virtual impotence of the male at the discretion and the whim of the woman. Man, that's fucking frustrating within the male. The male is powerless regardless of his physical size, his abilities, his talents, his value. He's worthless. Everything is predicated upon the judgment of the woman. It's this great feeling of powerlessness, regardless of how attractive the male might be. He's still powerless. He has no agency in the matter. The second source of frustration is the unwarranted, undeserved, inorganic entitlement, allowance of privilege to females by the Jew, J-O-O, that is, autocracy which uses women as proxy warriors in promulgating the Jew ideology, Jew supremacy, Jew hegemony, and the shaping of society to Jew preference. These are two great sources of frustration for all men. Many of them will not admit it. Many of them will not be able to articulate this. Many of them will be afraid to acknowledge it. Many of them will be insincere, dishonest to speak up about it. Nonetheless, these two sources of frustration turns into anger towards women. Not only are women in a place of power in terms of sexual allocation, they're also privileged by the Jew elites who run the world. Women are also awarded with the power of opportunity, which has to do with resources. In short, the Jew has created the new woman to usurp or supplant men. The woman as whore has made the deal with the Jew. Systematically and artificially, all women have been empowered by the Jew to usurp men. Awarded by the Jew now, legally, in terms of status, in terms of opportunity, in terms now of finances, education, in terms of employment, given dispensation for moral infractions. Women have been inorganically, artificially made to be supreme to men. This was the exchange between women and the Jew. So the bottom line is, girl, you didn't build that. Sorry, you didn't build that. You were elevated. You were made into nobility artificially. That's why you're in the position you're in. Not because of your abilities. The modern Western woman is a creation of the Jew. So I was watching this video with this young woman and her indignation towards the so-called male incel. But I realized something. I realized something that may not be so readily apparent to most people. It's a true revelation, but most people will not arrive at, even though it's staring them right in the face. It's a very important analysis and quite profound. As I was listening to her and as I was watching her, I realized that there's nothing new, but as we have just clarified, that all men are incel by nature. But what was the more important point here, so there's nothing to see there. There's nothing to see there, girls. All men are incel. And I kept listening and I kept listening. And I realized something I've known for a long time. But the more important point is that I realized that, in fact, she was the incel. She was the incel. She was the incel. She was the incel. Now this is a major, major statement here. Now, a lot of you don't understand this and don't know why I'm saying this, but I think you will. So let me just read you my commentary that I left. I said, it's actually you who does not understand men. I said, did you ever have a father? If you did, was he part of your female development and teach you about men? Question mark. It does not seem like you have any association with a strong masculine figure. Sadly, you will not experience success or gratification from any relationship with men. I can tell that right now, right away, I know that. Most likely you will never have a family or reproduce. I'm saying that to her. She's about 20 years old. And I can already tell. Just by her attitude. I can look into her past and know where she's coming from. And I also know where she's headed. And she's not unique. This is the fate of most women, young women today. Her outrage toward some men, as she sees it, those that she categorizes as incels, her outrage toward them is a result and stems from her ignorance about men, male nature, male sexuality. Let's not forget, coupled with her ignorance is the social economic environment the Jew has created for every one of us, which makes it 100 times more difficult. The Jew has removed the traditional bonds between men and women. So it's not just that she's ignorant. If she was ignorant, she would still have a chance. A lot of women did in the past. But she's also indoctrinated and programmed to believe that she doesn't and she shouldn't have a need for a man. And she has a lot of time to realize her biological imperative if she chooses to do so. This is the big lie that the Jew indoctrinates her with. The necessity for need, and I did a video in the past all about need, which is the essential requirement in order to start and maintain a relationship. That necessity for need has been removed sociologically, psychologically, and even economically from her to make it much more difficult on her and her potential mates. The problem is in fact with women and not with men. That is because when it comes to relationships, the Jew has targeted women. You were the targets. You were liberated. You were made to be free of men, free of having a family, free of making a bond, free of giving birth, and free of having to keep your baby, free of belonging. You are free of everything, women. You're free of everything. Thanks to the Jew. The Jew has elevated you women to superhero status. But it's all artificial. It's all a lie and you didn't earn any of it. And at the same time, you sold your soul to the Jew and lost everything tangible which defined womanhood. This whole incel thing, the problem is with women, not with men. We've established male sexuality. We have established why every man is an incel. End of story. Men have always been incel. Men will always be incel, regardless of who they are or what they look like or their relationship status. Men are always incel. So it's a moot point. It's not even part of this discussion of the incel. But women are, interestingly enough, when it comes to the incel, it's about the woman. But why are men suffering? Why are men frustrated sexually? But it is not only sexually. Never relegate men to a simple sexual organism, a sexual mechanism. Because sex to men is emotion. So men are suffering emotionally. The symptom of it, superficially, may be sex, but it's actually emotionally. Because women have been corrupted, women have been hijacked, women have been gaslighted, women have been deceived into thinking they don't need men. Now, that's a hell of an accomplishment. Think about it. What other race in the world would ever be able to accomplish that? To have that effect on women pretty much universally. That's impressive in terms of social engineering. We give credit to the Jew on this channel. It's only fair. Why cannot men establish relationships right now, 2019, all over the world? Even more so in the Western world. Everywhere I go. Singles, 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 singles. An alarming percentage of singles. I heard something like in the West, men 18 to 35, about 70% of them are single. Now, what people forget, it's forget about men. Forget about men. Every the social engineers, the Jew that directs everything, owns the media, owns entertainment, the Jew that gets into your mind and gaslights you in order to have you doubt your own reality, doubt your own eyes, doubt your own judgment, doubt your own morality. The world that Jew has created. And what people forget is, yes, you have huge amount of men. Most men watch me right now are single. And they can't even get laid. And it's not their fault. Because if a man gets laid, most often it leads to mowing the lawn, playing ball with your kids in the backyard, getting laid traditionally leads very quickly to having a family. And that is what was brought to an end. It's the world the Jew has created. And it's extremely challenging if you're going to live your life according to the rules of nature. Imagine that. You want to live your life according to the rules of nature. But getting back to what people are forgetting. If there's a huge amount of men who are singles, there's also a huge amount of women who are singles. This whole incel thing, it's not about men, it's about women. This future spinster here at 20 who is disparaging and criticizing men for being normal. It's because she's ignorant. She's not trying to be malicious to men. She just doesn't know. She's so confused in here. The social engineers, the cultural Marxists, the Frankfurt School, who were kicked out of Germany for subversion, bringing down the country, bringing down society, bringing down individuals, bringing down a race. Does it sound familiar to you? Just a little? Does it sound familiar to you just a little? Have you seen it anywhere going on? Have you? Who do you think is doing it? Do you still think it's the blue-haired barista? Do you still think it's the gynocracy? There's no gynocracy. No one has any power. Nobody has any control. Nobody has any supremacy. Nobody has any financing. Nobody has any organization. Except for the Jew. Is it clear to you now? Did you connect the dots? Is it getting a little clearer now? Good job. The Frankfurt School, who were kicked out by Hitler, came to America and they said, we're going to fix these son of a bitches. They're never going to be the same again. So they were instantly hired at the Ivy League universities and went straight to work on America. So they started their social engineering. And this is what we got. We got the sexual revolution. The Jew brought us the sexual revolution. Thank you, Jews. And we all signed on because we thought we'd be getting laid all the time. We'd be fucking everybody. Did that happen? That's for the guys. And then for the women, what did you lose, girls? Because of the sexual revolution, what did you lose? Or should I say, what did you gain? You're supposed to gain everything, right? Well, let me guess. You became free. So the sexual revolution brought us what we have now. Isn't it wonderful? Masses of fucking singles everywhere. Say it after me. Thank you, Jews. Thank you, Jews. They brought us feminism, women's liberation. Now you can all go to work, girls. You can go work. Be part of the working poor. Abortion, birth control, pornography, transgenders and gender confusion. Homosexuality is all normalized. guess what's coming next? If you don't feel the degeneracy making you sick in the stomach, if you don't feel it, if you don't feel that there's something wrong, you must be a Jew. Thank you, Jews. Don't you ever not give credit where credit is due. And this is what we got to where we are now. And you ain't seen nothing yet. So, the incel here is her. And millions of women like her. Young as her and older. The female incel. Did you ever realize that? Let me keep reading, okay? So I said, the problem is in fact with women, not with men. Then I go on and I say, yes, it results in men resenting women for the artificial, undeserved empowerment they received as a form of exchange. When you became radicals and usurp the white man, somebody has propped these women up. This is not an organic movement. Somebody has elevated women universally in order to destroy the man. Women were made to be the radicals, the warriors for the Jew agenda. It's absolutely brilliant. It started with Edward Bernays, the brother-in-law, son-in-law, whatever the hell it is, of Sigmund Freud. Torches of Freedom is the image they implanted in the female brain for cigarettes. The image of cigarettes. Torches of Freedom, any woman, they were encouraged to smoke as an expression of their freedom from men. And that kicked off the women's liberation movement, paved the way for the sexual liberation, for the sexual revolution. Now, men signed on to the sexual revolution, did they not? The baby boomers in the early 60s, mid 60s, oh yeah. The sexual revolution was means that you can have sex all you want, especially with the invention of the birth control pill. And another gem brought to us by the Jew, abortion. Free sex. You can have sex with any woman you want, anytime. No limitations. And the Jew freed you from morality. You follow us, and we'll make morality relative. Yes, it results in men resenting women for the artificial, undeserved empowerment they received as a form of exchange, that you become radicals and usurp the white male. That's what women have done. And you lose. Because anything you do to men, you do to yourselves. And if you work for the Jew, you're going to lose. Every time. And you have lost tremendously. I'm talking to women. I'm talking about women. I'm talking about the female incel. The female incel. Women are incel. Many women are incel. This is the result, and you lost out on more than men. On more than men do, actually. Women lose out more, but you are too stupid to realize it. You were given privilege, but actually lost everything which was meaningful to a woman. The way men lose their masculinity because it's taken away from them, the same way women lost their femininity, it was taken away from you. You cannot build bonds anymore. The Jew has designed it that way. You think it's difficult? Yes, it's difficult. It's not your fault. You're in a very impossible situation. The environment that was built for you, that you have to live in, is impossible. While men are being thrown every type of sexual imagery to arouse them at the same time, they are being punished for responding to them in the natural way that men were designed to respond. Men and women have been alienated against each other. By design, you have to understand. You have to understand what was done and who did it. You cannot have any discussion about men or women, as I said, while leaving the Jew out of the equation. And you pedestrian Jews, you suffer the same way as the rest of us. Don't be mistaken. Let me repeat. Women, you were given privilege, but actually lost everything which was meaningful to a woman. You are artificially privileged and weaponized because you made an alliance with the Jew. In exchange for your privilege, you will be an agent of the Jew. I'm talking all women, even if it's indirectly. And it started with torches of freedom. Edward Bernays, the inventor of modern advertising, he became filthy rich. If you heard about the genius Sigmund Freud, it was due to his relative, Edward Bernays, who promoted Freud. The degeneracy of Freud. Psychology is the domain of the Jew, and it's a powerful form of control, because the Jew can then pathologize anything which goes against their agenda, their objectives, and their ideology. This is what happens when women are deceived by Jew lesbians, who women allow to speak for you. You are in fact incel yourself if you have any perception to see your fate and condition. So the dumb fucks came out and they didn't comprehend anything I was talking about. So a response to it was, in quotation marks, you are incel yourself, meaning quoting what I said about the young woman who made this video, disparaging men. Quote unquote, you are incel yourself. And this commenter says, she has a boyfriend, so nope. This girl that made the video has a boyfriend. Wow. Wow. I guess I'm wrong, right? No. So I make another comment. I say, you must be a dude who knows nothing about female nature to give such a stupid reply. The biological imperative for men and women is vastly different. A young woman having a boyfriend means absolutely nothing. In fact, she could get any number of guys to inseminate her tonight even, if she allowed it. Let me know when she's married and has a child within a monogamous relationship, marriage. In fact, she is a very long way off from that achievement. And most likely, statistically, will never attain it in her lifetime. She is shockingly, and in her own way, just as much of an incel as all the guys her age, given the different parameters that we must consider for women. Quite a revelation, isn't it? You gotta understand that the sexual parameters, the biological parameters, the end game for men and women are vastly different. Women don't do anything for sex. Sex doesn't have the same meaning as it does for women as it does for men. So we cannot concentrate strictly on the sexual act. Women need commitment. Women need to capture a man for the long term. So what are the individual separate criteria, parameters for men and women? Men need to inseminate, and women need commitment. That is the measure by which to identify the incel. Access to sexual relations to a sexual partner or partners, multiple partners, is not the determining factor for women in terms of them being an incel or not. Sex is not what you use for women. Women are not out to inseminate any man. Men are out to inseminate women. Their job is pretty well done at that point. If a man seduces a woman, if a woman willingly wants to be inseminated by a particular male, the male gets everything that he wants. He gets his physical pleasure, but that's not even important. The sexual act is not important. It's the validation that goes with it. This is why rape does not work for men. Because a man gets no validation in coercing any woman into sexual intercourse. This is why the rape culture is non-existent. It cannot exist. Because a healthy male gets nothing out of it, other than a very superficial physical thrill, which has terrible emotional ramifications afterwards. For the healthy male, I'm not talking about criminals here, the criminal male, the psychopath. But if a woman willingly submits to the male and says, fuck me, I want you to fuck me, it has great meaning for the man. Doesn't necessarily have the same meaning for women, though. If the woman is denied commitment from that same man, long-term commitment, this is what the Jew did not tell you, girls. A man gets validation, gratification, feels like he has achieved something. And he has. He seduced a woman, which takes skill and emotional involvement. Unless he forces the woman, tricks the woman, takes advantage of the woman's emotional state at the time, takes advantage of the inebriation of the woman, loss of consciousness or whatever it is. But that's called rape. That's rape. But if the woman desires the man, then the male gets everything he wants, but the woman does not. So we cannot use sex as a parameter in identifying the female incel. Understand? Any woman who is half decent looking can get as many men to fuck her as she wants. But that's not what she's looking for. But she gets nothing out of it. Absolutely nothing. In fact, it goes into the negative side of the equation for her. So the dumb fuck comes back and he says, dude, incel stands for involuntarily celibate. Okay, thank you for telling me that. She's in a relationship, so by definition, she can't be an incel. As I said, you have to use the appropriate parameters for the two genders, unless you believe that men and women are the same. And in that case, I think you've been indoctrinated and deceived by the Jew since birth, as most people have. So I come back, dude, you're not getting it. Another one who did not have a father to educate you. Use incel in context with the female condition, not the male. In context. The female incel, I've seen some videos on this. Somebody's trying to be smart and, you know, the MGTOW types or whatever. And they're saying the female incel, meaning women who are not having sex or can't have sex or are too ugly to have sex or whatever. That's not who the female incel is. What people don't realize is that for every male incel, there's a female incel. People don't realize that for every male who cannot establish a relationship, there's a woman who can't establish a relationship. Bingo! The Jew wins. That's what the incentive was. See? People are forgetting the women in this scenario. Every man is an incel by definition. But the reason all those men who can't establish a relationship, there is a female counterpart to that who also cannot establish a relationship, and that's tragic. And see, girls, the Jew knows something that you don't realize. The Jew knows that they have a very short window to deal with, very short time period, 15 years at the most. If they can prevent you from bonding with a male, with a man, in those 15 years, you will not reproduce. And the Jew knows this. So they can get the job done within a short period of time if they can only get into your mind for those 15 years and fuck you up here. The Jew wins. And you girls go for your careers. And if your university professors or the Jew lesbians convince you to put that pussy hat on, you're done! You're done! You put the pussy hat on and you're done! You understand? After the age of 26, women's fertility drops quickly. So the Jew can get the job done pretty quick. As long as they can put a pussy hat on you. Or make you women the most privileged contingent in society to believe that those poor men, those beleaguered men, disenfranchised men, debased men are oppressing you. If Edward Bernays and many like him can make you believe that, you become a revolutionary for the Jew. You've signed your life over to the Jew, your soul over to the Jew. And you lose big time, as the Jew brainwashed you to do. And there's no baby. So who the fuck is the incel now? Who doesn't get commitment from a man? The man may not get laid, but men don't get laid anyway. Even if they're married. What's the big deal? There's no news there. Every fucking man watching this is an incel. But what about the women? Why do we always forget about the women? Oh, women can get laid anytime. Well, surprise. Surprise, guys, dudes. Hey, dude. That's not what women are looking for. Wake up. Wake up, you fucking moron. Wake up. Let's not confuse. Let's not mistake the sexual nature of men and women. So the dumb fuck comes back. And he says, you can't use involuntarily celibate for someone who isn't involuntarily celibate. The guy's not getting it, is he? So I respond, like there is any woman, especially young women, who are involuntarily celibate, question mark? Is there any woman out there who's involuntarily celibate? Well, yeah, if you're 400 pounds maybe. But even then, there's a dude who's got a fetish for 400-pound women and wants to fuck them up the ass. But we're not talking about the sexual act, actually. We're going beyond the sexual act. And as we described, the sexual act doesn't have the same meaning for men and women. So you cannot judge women according to the same parameters as you're judging men in terms of being incel. And we've already established that all men are incels anyway, by nature. If a man wasn't an incel, he would have no drive, no ambition, and would not put in the effort to seek out women. Like there is any woman, especially young women, who are involuntarily celibate. Question mark. I'm asking. Please come forward, incel girls. I say to this guy, it looks like you need some more time to comprehend this reality. Take your time. And some of you listening to this will need some time to understand this. But you cannot equate men with women. Their roles, their purposes, their end game is totally different. So I make another comment and I say, dude, your intelligence level is way below average. You watch this channel, the channel of this young woman who made this video about male incels. You watch this channel, so it's not surprising. They go on these channels of these younger women and they're sexually aroused by them. It's kind of like a peep show, and you know how it goes. You know, a young woman who's half decent will automatically, within a very short time, have 100,000 subscribers, and most of them are going to be men. And a lot of the dumb fucks are going to send them money even. It's the, you know, they're triggering what I'm talking about. You know, the male fantasy. These males want to inseminate the woman doing the videos, the host of the channel, the creator. And I'm not faulting them. That's how male sexuality works. They're looking at you and they want to fuck you. And they fantasize about fucking you. I say to him, I'm talking about the difference between male and female nature. The difference between male and female sexuality here. This is what this guy's not comprehending. I see the Jews have brainwashed you into believing that there are more than two genders and there are no differences between any of them. You let me know when she actually has a husband and kids, okay? Let's see when that happens. Keep me posted. For now, she is the female equivalent of the incel, along with most females, or very many anyway, increasing in numbers, constantly. It's incalculable, the number of both male and female incels. Even while all males are incel, but the female incel who is not realizing her genetic mandate, while all along she has been gaslighted by the Jew who has brought it into fashion and the current predominant narrative that girls, you don't need a man. And that went right, that penetrated her mind. And she is living every moment and directing her life with the attitude that women don't need a man. But if women don't have a man, they are incel. Now, in the case of this woman, apparently she has a boyfriend of some type. Allegedly, even a fiancé. Now, for all I know, I've seen briefly the guy. I looked around to see what it looks like, and he's your typical soy boy type B male. Looks alright. Not ugly or anything like that. Looks alright. They're commensurate in terms of appearance. Now, even though it may not be blatantly and superficially or immediately apparent, she is the dominant type. As much as she tries to hide that fact or make it inconspicuous, she's the dominant type. So it's perfectly natural for her to seek out a male who will behave according to her own design, her own demands, expectations. Either that or you're out. To her own whims. And that's what this guy is like. To me, it is very apparent. However, we're not talking about appearance here. We're talking about personality type. And is that particular male, but is he actually masculine Or is he possibly even a homosexual? Or is he male enough to offer her and commit to her, to offer her commitment? Now that is undetermined. And until that is affirmed, confirmed, none of this has any relevance to her not being an incel, but just the mere fact of having a boyfriend is a long ways off from a woman achieving her biological imperative. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. It's more tragic than it is for males, actually. The female condition, the female incel. She also knows nothing about male nature. I can just imagine what her apparently she has a fiancé. I can just imagine what her fiancé is like. It will be very difficult for her. Virtually impossible. As for most every female her age to realize reproducing and having a family in this social climate and Talmudic conditioning. What a stupid statement you made. Of course, what fulfills me as a man is not what should fulfill a woman. What satisfies me is not going to be that's going to satisfy a woman within a relationship, within an association with someone of the opposite gender. If it was the same, that is, if men and women had the same expected sexual outcome, if men and women had the same, in essence, biological imperatives resulting from sexual relations, if that was the same, that in itself should make you sick, unless you are pathological or some trans freak. You should never go against nature or you will pay for it severely. You need to educate yourself if you had no parents to do it. Your brain is decaying. So another dumb fuck comes into the thread. And he says, incel, someone who is involuntarily celibate. They keep thinking that I don't know what incel means. This girl is in a relationship. This guy tells me as well. You are the retarded one if you think someone who has a boyfriend is an incel. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. These are the millennials who are supposed to be the formation of the future of civilization. Ah, it's pathetic. That's pathetic. She has a boyfriend. But a woman having a boyfriend is a long ways from finishing the job, if you know what I mean. A long ways from establishing a family. A long ways with entrapping that male into indefinite commitment to her and her alone. The monogamous, permanent relationship resulting in offspring. That in itself is virtually an impossibility according to in the world which the Jew has designed. The social engineers, the Jew social engineers. This is why you cannot leave the Jew out of any discussion of males, females, and relationships. The Jew defines and designs society. It's very difficult. See, these dumb fucks, I guess they're what passes for male these days. They are viewing a woman as if they were the same as men. And just because she apparently, which I don't even believe, is having sex on a regular basis. And I've seen her boyfriend, and he looks all right. Maybe superficially even looks masculine, but I could tell that it's a bunny, and possibly even homosexual. Okay, a lot of homosexual men do have girlfriends, and this is a whole other topic. It's a huge topic, actually. The amount of women who have been in relationships or even are in a relationship with homosexual men and unable to detect it, and not even having an incentive to detect it, which is absolutely amazing when you think about it. Most people don't realize this, but it's a large number of women who are in that situation with homosexual men. And for homosexual men, it's very convenient because they can hide their homosexuality through doing this. And so, just because a woman is going around saying that they have a steady boyfriend and possibly even a possible fiancé means absolutely nothing. Means absolutely nothing. I mean, it's just the same as a homosexual claiming to have a girlfriend and projecting the visuals of the false visuals of being in a relationship with a woman, someone of the opposite gender. It means absolutely nothing. Same for a woman. A woman having a boyfriend, even an alleged fiancé, does not mean that that woman is ever going to reach her incentive of achieving the long-term committed relationship, which leads to procreation. Unless a woman achieves that with an actual male, masculine, straight, heterosexual male who commits to her, she has not achieved anything. She's an incel. Getting fucked is very different for men and women. Having sex is very different for men and women. Don't ever equate the two. If you're a millennial, inexperienced, porn addict, you will not understand female nature, female sexuality. Because what's presented to you is false, is phony, is misleading, is deceptive, and on purpose. So, involuntarily celibate is very different for men and women. You cannot equate the two. For a woman, getting fucked is not the incentive. It's actually a detriment to her projected goal, to her objective. And that woman, unless she reaches the commitment she seeks in a monogamous relationship, she is absolutely an incel. Even if she's getting fucked every single day. It's very different for a man. You know, you could be jogging, you could be a serious jogger. It doesn't mean you're going to enter the Olympics or win the Olympics. Okay? Just because you jog. So everything has to be put into perspective. You understand? Put it into perspective between the genders, viewed through correct parameters in terms of the genders. So I come back and I say, you leave another comment, I said, your understanding of male and female nature is zero. I can tell you are and will be a perpetual incel for sure, just because of lack of understanding of the processes involved here within relationships. Your ignorance will assure that. When you talk about incel, you have to consider that the female equivalent, in capital letters, of the incel through the female perspective. No woman is looking for sex or to bang men or a variety of men. Conversely, men are looking to bang women and preferably a variety of women all the time, as long as they maintain their testosterone level. Men are looking for frequency and variety. And we've talked about the shelf life of a woman. So doing it to the same woman, being in the relationship with the same woman, the male shuts down naturally. I'm doing sessions with a guy, and he's got a lovely long-term girlfriend, and he tells me that he's out banging prostitutes and Tinder girls and all this because she has turned into, the way he puts it, his mother. And my response to that is, sorry to tell you, but it's absolutely normal. And if you've never been in a long-term relationship with a woman, or you have never had a real relationship with a woman, I'm talking about living with a woman and having a frequent association with a woman on a longer term, you will not understand what I'm talking about. So I say, no woman is looking for sex or to bang men or a variety of men. A relationship also means nothing to a woman if it does not result in ultimate commitment and support for her offspring or herself, emotionally and in terms of utility. Those are the two things. So she can be in as many relationships as she wants. Means nothing. Remember, we talked about the nutrition in a relationship, or even nutrition in terms of intimacy. Is there nutrition or is there not? Female validation, ego gratification is the nutrition for the male, but the equivalent for the female is commitment from the male, long-term commitment. And if the woman is not getting that, the woman as well is not getting, just the same as the male, is not getting the nutrition that she's seeking out of the intimate connection with the male. So, in effect, the female is not getting anything out of it, even though she's getting sex, possibly every day, all day. In effect, she's not getting anything. It's not that women are promiscuous, really. Men believe that women are promiscuous. No, women are not by nature promiscuous, believe it or not. Just as the male is looking for the nutrition in the intimate association that they form, be it planned or be it spontaneous, be it opportunistic, be it unexpected, be it impulsive, be it by chance, women are looking for the nutrition. And what that nutrition is, again, is commitment. Sex is really not the end goal for men or women. When you look at the deeper meaning of the sexual strategy of both men and women, they're both looking for the nutrition, which is underneath the superficiality of the sexual act. The deeper meaning is the search for the nutrition, the commitment for the woman, and for true acceptance by the female of the man. Commitment and acceptance. If those two are not achieved, you've got the incel on both sides. In defense of women, they're not actually promiscuous, because you can't be promiscuous if you're not looking for sex. Can you be promiscuous if you're looking for the nutrition from a relationship, from an association, from an encounter, from sexual contact, looking for the nutrition from sexual contact? Can you be labeled as promiscuous? Superficially, yeah. But they are looking for that man. And how in the fuck do you look for that man unless you get into a relationship with these men and see what they're like? And in terms of women being perceptive of men, as I explained, with homosexual men, that's a great example. Women are not very perceptive when it comes to evaluating men. They think they are, but in fact, women do a terrible job at it. They simply are not perceptive of male personality, and they don't work through the evaluation of male personality, which can be assessed within minutes, instead of wasting years, considering that female fertility drops dramatically after the age of 26. So, if a woman is not careful, it's a very small window that she has to work with. And the social engineers know this, while women don't. So if women make this unholy alliance with the Jew, you will fucking lose. That's the alliance you have made with the Jew. And you lost. And it's now becoming apparent. It's now becoming visible, tragically salient, because empowering women unnaturally and undeservedly will result in no procreation, and not even in the establishment of relationships bonding between men and women. Not even that. A lot of great men are dismissed, and a lot of very dubious males, or what passes for males, are accepted based on very faulty criteria. in terms of how women choose their mates. So I say to this guy, your cultural Marxist upbringing has deceived you and made you stupid on purpose. With your low IQ, it was not difficult to do. The more you blurt out your stupidity, the more you reveal yourself and what a moron you are. In terms of receiving tangible, committed results, she is a total incel. As millions of other women are today. Having a boyfriend or having sex every day is meaningless to a woman for the long term, for her end game, for her ultimate achievement. That is not an achievement for a woman to simply have a boyfriend and have sex every day, or 5 times a day for that matter. Understand this, guys. Understand this. She's not looking for what you're looking for. That will not satisfy her. That is not enough for her. She's not a dude. Even though the Jew is working incessantly every moment to convince her and to turn her into a dude. And turn you into a chick. Isn't that fucking sick? What other race would have the motivation to do that? To go against nature. To go against Logos. What other race would turn the world upside down? You fucking tell me. Another dumb fuck enters the picture. Get a therapist. She's in a relationship, and if she wants, she will have a family. Being a human being with common sense is enough. What? Being a human being with common sense is enough. Gender roles are outdated. They always were and always will be. There's no problem with a woman being free. Oh my goodness. This is a woman, by the way. This is not a guy right here. This is a woman leaving this comment. The problem are men who can't deal with reality and flee in outdated views. Wow, so you decide what she's trying to say here. She is in a relationship, and if she wants, she will have a family. So if she wants, she can have a family at any time. Now, all you single women out there, is that the way it works? If you want, you can just have a relationship anytime. Hey, I'm ready for a relationship. Come on, guys. We got an incel here leaving this comment, don't we? We got a serious hardcore incel. Female incel. I could tell. Gender roles are outdated. A little bit of assuagement here on the role of the female incel, leaving this comment. A little bit threatening I was to her. A little bit too close to the truth. She's got to spew this lesbian Jew / psychologist indoctrination that this freak of what passes for a female these days, this fucking freak, has been deceived with her whole pathetic life, and she's still clinging to it like a zombie, like a programmed, inanimate, mindless little Marxist for the Jew. Cliches and platitudes makes me sick. We've heard this so many times. Disgusting, Marxist indoctrination, the deception of the female, which the Jew has been very successful at. Again, we give credit on this channel where credit is due. And we gotta give the Jew credit for all of their accomplishments. Especially in terms of the female, the white Western female. Now you know where the white Western female comes from. Who created that creature. Now you know. I just told you. Remember where you heard it. This is the talking points of the Jew lesbian here, manipulating the mind of women. Carrying on where Edward Bernays left off in the 20s. You can have it all, girls! You can have it all. And you don't need a man. Gender roles are outdated. Which means that women are made to be male and males are made to be female. It also means, as I was trying to explain to you in a previous lecture, it also means that women should not need men and men should not need women. Do you know what that results in? Jordan Peterson comes into the picture, and that results in individualism. That's Jordan Peterson talk. It's actually forced on you. That's why it's forced. Individualism. Isolation, loneliness, helplessness, uselessness, being defenseless, being vulnerable. But you're free. But you're free. You're free! And ultimately, no procreation for the white male. But don't forget, girls, also for the white female. The Jew's gonna get ya. Just the way they're going after white men, your potential mates, who are not going to be. They're going after white males. They already went after our white males. But now, girls, the Jews coming after white women. And you're going to be debased just the same. Don't forget. Whatever you girls help the Jew do to white men, or men in general, is what's going to happen to you. You are debasing yourself as you help the Jew debase men. No more pussy hats for you girls. If you're a white woman, you can't join the pussy hat club any longer. That's what it is. Gender roles. What nature designed is, the Jew says, it's outdated. Did you know that? It's going to really help you if you think that way. You know what? If I was to find out who this individual is, I bet you that she's done with. She's over the hill. She's a genetically challenged individual who normally would have no privilege or opportunities in life. And allying herself with Jew satanic ideology will give her the privilege and opportunity that she would never naturally be able to acquire in life on her own. And that's who facilitate the Jew, who are the necessary agents, the willing, enthusiastic, passionate, zealots, accomplices of the Jew. It's not really the Jew that brings forth revolution. It's the indoctrinated who do so. They commit most of the atrocities for the Jew in any of their Marxist regimes around the world, past and present. And she's trying to soothe her unfortunate situation by giving these cliches put into her mind by the Jew, the engineers, the Jew engineers, social engineers, that is. And this is the result of it right here. Remember, this freak says there is no problem with women being free. This is freedom, girls. You being an incel means freedom. That's what the Jew has taught you. Starting with women's liberation and then the sexual revolution. It's freedom. You're not against freedom, are ya? Freedom. Utopia. It's just Marxism. There's nothing new here. The Jew really is a one-trick pony. There's nothing new here. It's Marxism. Freedom. Marxism always offers freedom. But Marxism is actually the epitome of tyranny and slavery. The problem are men who can't deal with reality. Reality is what you're in, incel woman. That's the reality you're in. And no, a woman who has a boyfriend is a long ways off from having a family. And women are painfully finding that out the hard way. Because anything the Jew does to men also does to women. Anything you women do to men, usurp men, disparage men, degrade men, disgrace men, demote men, ruin men's lives, take away the livelihood of men through nothing more than affirmative action, which is phoniness. You don't earn any of it. That's the problem. You don't earn it. The Jew simply rewards you with it for helping the Jew in destabilizing and destroying society. That's what you women are being used for, and have helped and are helping to achieve. Everything you women do to men, you do to yourself. Now, you found out the hard way. Where's your husband and kids? The incel woman who left this comment. Show me your husband and kids. You free woman, you! You're wallowing in your freedom, aren't you? You miserable piece of shit, you. So I leave a final comment here, to which I never got any more responses. I wonder why. I say, you cannot even hide what a freak you are. I am a therapist, you mutant, and I can tell that you are doing, what you are doing is trying to protect and excuse your own sad condition. Gender roles are what is called the rule of nature. Never go against nature. If you do, you will instantly qualify as pathological. You are against reason and logic. You have no common sense. The result is that you will never reproduce, which in your case is a good thing. Strict gender roles are the only system through which either men and women will never be incels. The only way men and women will have families is to follow strict traditional gender roles. And that's what the Jew doesn't want you to follow and doesn't want you to know. That was the plan of the Jew. And you thought that through the so-called sexual revolution, you males, you signed on because you thought you'd be getting laid. And the opposite happened. You're going to jail for Trump charges now by even hitting on a woman, which is the natural response of any healthy male. You get aroused by a woman, and you seduce a woman, and then you inseminate a woman, and then you form a family with babies. And that's what the Jew does not want to happen for you. They're winning. The Jew is winning. Because you are too stupid to not see what the agenda is. You did not pick up on it. The Jew has created a social environment where personal bonds are virtually impossible to form. This is how nature created the human animal, and every animal for that matter. You are simply an abnormality, and now artificially propped up by the degenerates ruling over us. I'm talking to all women. This young woman is upper cap, is destined to be the female equivalent of the incel. She is free from what? 3 question marks. It is simply not a matter of choice. Not as simple as that. It is not a matter of choice to just have a family like that. It is much more difficult than that. Especially in this fucking environment where I did a video on need. Where women have been taught not to need men. And also men to not need women. And need is the only thing you got. If you want to establish a relationship, you got to need each other. That's why marriages went on for decades in the past. Until death do us part. Because they needed each other. Despite the differences between male and female nature, they needed each other. Which superseded all differences. It is not just simply a matter of choice. Okay, I'm ready to have a family now. I'm 38-year-old female, an incel. I've tried to establish, but no man sufficed. I've had 38 boyfriends. But now I'm ready. I'm 38 years old. Come on, guys. I'm ready. Let's go. No time to lose now. I'm gonna get pregnant right away. Come on. Perfect dude. Would be nice, wouldn't it, eh? Is that the bullshit that women believe? This loser here, female incel, lifelong female incel, sure believes it. Or she tries to deceive herself into believing it. Society has been engineered to make it virtually impossible. Virtually impossible for men and women together. You got to understand that men and women are together in this situation. They live in the same world. They live under the same social conditions, the same social conditioning, the same cultural engineering, both together. Even though women have been empowered politically, legally, in terms of status, financially now, it doesn't matter. Where are you gonna find the men, girls? If you destroy men, where the fuck you know? You know what? You better become all lesbians. And the Jew lesbian is waiting for you. Because there's no men for you. You've helped the Jew destroy males. White males, now black men as well. So what are you going to do now? You can have a choice of having family. No, you fucking can't. You're done with. You've joined the Jew in ideology and purpose, and you lost because of it. You lost big time. Society has been engineered to make it virtually impossible. That's why we have millions and millions of singles between the age of 18 and 50. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what age you are. The Jew has taken away your gender identity and has taken away your biological imperatives. That's a lot to lose, people. That's a lot to lose. And who did it? Oh, it just came organically? Nature did it to you? No. It was all the Jew. Let's give credit to the Jew. J-O-O, not J-E-W. J-O-O. There's no J-E-W. There's only J-O-O. You're not having families and you're not reproducing. And men and women are incel. And for women, it's a lot more serious. Because men are incel by nature. Women are not. But the Jew has made you an incel. Because of the world the Jew has created for you. People's choice has been removed. 50% of women between 18 and 50 are childless. 50%. That is not by choice. Remember this female incel here that left a stupid comment. Said that the video creator here, if she wants, she will have a family. If she doesn't, she won't. No. You got no choice in this matter. Because you're leaving out men from the equation. Where the fuck are you going to find the men, girls? Where the fuck are you going to find them to give you a lifelong commitment? Smart women, experienced women know this. Know what I'm talking about. So this is not by choice. There's no, you got no choice in this. You got to deal with the conditions that you're in, that you've helped the Jew create, you girls, by destroying men, by debasing men. And if women, in fact, choose to be the radicals in Marxism, if women choose to be the proxy warriors for the Jew in exchange of privilege, you will destroy society, as you pretty well have already. Thank you, girls. You've come a long way. You're now an incel. The true incel. The incel situation is even more tragic for women than it is for men. This is the sad part about this person's video that I stumbled upon. This young white woman will have something major. I'm talking major here, big, missing from her life. And it will not be by choice. Woman's choice. The Jew will not give you women a choice. It'll give you a condition to live under in which you have no choice. Not by choice, but by force of circumstance. The female incel. That's what creates the female incel. So stop talking about the male incel and consider the female incel.